My name is Nashon Okowa. I'm a project manager. My background is construction management, University of Nairobi. I'm the chairman of the Association of Construction Managers of Kenya, director of Beacon Africa Consultants. We are consulting construction project managers, feasibility studies. I'm an author of the book Don't Buy That House. I'm also a columnist with the Standard newspaper. Upland investment is an investment where, in simple terms, you're buying what is not ready. So if it is a house, you're buying a house that is not ready for occupation, not fully complete. You could buy it when the project is ongoing. So that means groundbreaking has taken place. It's a project that has started construction works that is still off plan. Or you could even buy it before even groundbreaking. So you're buying from the plans. Basically, that is off plan. It's simply a project that is not yet ready for occupation. For a developing country like ours, and a country that only 16% of us own houses, off-land is the best model to bridge the housing gap. And it's a model not bespoke to us. I mean, so many countries have used this model to bridge the housing gap. Why is it good? Off-land has a few advantages. Let me mention one or two. Number one, the flexibility of payment. For first-time homeowners, the flexibility of payment is quite ideal for off-land. What does it mean? You pay a deposit, and then throughout the duration of the construction, you agree with the developer on how you will pay the balance, mostly on milestones or on monthly payment, though I don't advocate for monthly payments, milestone payments. So throughout a 2-year duration of a project, a house that is 10 million, I pay 1 million, and 9 million I pay throughout the 2 years. That's one of the best advantages of plan. Number two is its availability at a cheaper price. If you are the value for money, if I buy a house now, and in 2 years' time, that value will be different. So off-plan allows you to buy a house cheaper than when it is actually complete. Number three is the flexibility in making changes. For example, off-plan gives you the advantage of you can amend. You could change your tiles to wood flooring if you want during construction. You don't get that advantage with a complete house. You could change your kitchen from open plan and close it up. So off-plan gives you the flexibility to make changes as the house is being built. Even painting, you could choose your own paint. I mean, developers are now very flexible. Those advantages are very imperative for off-plan. And for investors, it's the issue of flipping. If I buy a project now in off-plan, by the time it's complete and I resell it for investment or for flipping, good discounts. Those are the key advantages of off-plan and why it works. It does work. Monthly payments has been the pain for most buyers in this country. Monthly payment is why so many buyers have been weeping. Why am I saying so? Monthly payments in sale agreements is not tied to progress. And the unscrupulous, phony developers realize that. When you pay, for example, the house of 10 million, I pay 1 million deposit, 10%, and the balance, for example, $500,000 monthly, it's not pegged on progress. You will pay monthly payments regardless of what happens on site. That's the challenge of monthly payments. That's why I've been advising buyers, off-plan buyers, go for milestones. Milestones means if I paid 10% of 10 million, the balance are paid on milestones, and we can agree on those milestones. Milestones could be when you cast the ground floor slab. So if you cast the ground floor slab, I can see the ground floor slab has been cast, I pay. When you cast first floor, I pay. That bulletproofs the buyer that whatever I have paid for is what has been done. Monthly payments, a lot of buyers have lost money in it, and when they have sought legal address, you'll be told you signed. And it's clear here, you have to pay in June, July, August. It's not pegged on progress. So you will see work not going on site, but you are expected to pay. And when you stop paying, you'll be told you're breaching the contract. Go for milestone payments, agree on those milestones with the developer. When they do them, then make the payments. This is my 12th year in practice. And I've done a lot of off-plan projects, successful off-plan projects. And that's why I'm a big advocate for off-plan as well. so that we block the blanket demonization of it. And I have been a project manager of so many off-plan projects that I have been handed over by myself as a project manager to buyers, all right? Part of the issues I tackle in my book are the challenges that I've experienced, for example, in off-land. When people, for example, buy a house based on a render. They didn't get the proper details of the house. They saw an image on a billboard and they bought the house. They didn't go into the nitty-gritties of this house, and at handover, they come with the render for handover, and yet that was a pure marketing gimmick that they were used. There are so many successful projects that have been done on off-plan, and there are so many projects that are still being done on off-plan. However, people have taken advantage of it, and in it we have seen unscrupulous developers slipped in. And that's why in my book I'm trying to address buyers on those areas. How do they ensure that when they're buying off-plan, it does not go the wrong way? So off-plan is here to stay, in my view, and it's a model that we'll continue to use to bridge the housing gap. We just need to deal with its challenges so that when a buyer comes into the project, they're foolproof process that they can get them. In terms of projects, there's so many. I could name so many projects personally that I've done off-plan. In my book, I talk about 7 due diligence areas that any off-plan buyer must interrogate, and it's a must. If you think it's a lot of work, I've always said, get something else to do with your money. These are things that we must do. In ideal democracies, in ideal countries, we'll not do them. But we're a country that is work in progress. We are not where we want to be. So some of these things we must check. Number one, history of developer. You must know whom you want to give your millions of shillings. Have they done projects in the past? For example, what projects? Can you see them? Can you talk to those buyers? How did they do them? Did they complete on time? Number two is the projects team, the consultants, the contractor. Very important for when you're buying off-plan. Who are they? All right. Sometimes you'll find you go to the consulting team and there's someone you know. All right. Then you have a step. Are they registered with the bodies? And I talk about that at length in the book as well, how you will confirm their registers. Is the architect registered? Is the engineer registered? Is the contractor registered with the NCA? That box you have to tick. All right. Approvals, statutory approvals. Is the project having the requisite approvals? All right. A lot of developers do not do this. Do they have an NEMA license? Was the change of use done? Is the county approved drawings for architects and engineers available? If it's on a riparian next to a river, is there the WARMA approval? If it's on next to an airport, do you have the KCA approval? All right. So tick that box as well. I want to see the approvals. Number 3 is the sale agreement. Now, the sale agreement, in my book, I say it's the most important document because it is the code, it is the shackle code that ties you. So you must interrogate that sale agreement properly, all right? Before you sign anything, letter of offer, sale agreement, interrogate it completely. Then you have the finishing details. A lot of buyers, a lot of home buyers off-plan buy houses based on pictures. Buy houses based on brochures. And the developers have known this. They whip emotions. Beautiful render on a billboard on the roads, and you're going for it. Ensure those things that you saw are in here. What are the exact housing details of this house? What is the dimension of a lounge? All right. I've handed over projects where a client came to complain at handover that the house is smaller than what she thought it is. And I asked, what did you think it is? And she produced the render. All right. Renders are for you to wipe emotions. So check, for example, in the book I talk about it, check the dimensions of your lounge, of your dining, compare it with what you have now. And I mentioned it, carry a tape, go buy a tape and measure 4 meters for yourself. See if it's something that you can buy and see with. Then you have the project financing model. The project financing model as well has made buyers pay, off-plan buyers. You've seen English for Marina. You've seen Four Ways now, Boulevard, banks are repossessing projects. because developers overborrowed on a project on the mother title. Financing model is important for off-plan buyer to understand. How does the developer intend to finance this project? Is it from sales? Are they borrowing? Is it debt? Is it equity? Is it both? And if they're borrowing, how much? Those are areas that every single developer, every single buyer must understand. Lastly, is service charge. Service charge, again, is an area that most off-plan buyers do not give thought. So you're renting a house of 50 million or 50,000 or 70,000. You're buying a project, you're buying a house, and you pay a service charge of 50,000 again. What have you done? So you need to understand what will be the service charge of this development that I'll be paying when I've turned over. I've seen projects where buyers have moved in, and the service charge makes them to move out to where they were and rent the apartment because they didn't think about it. Those are 7 critical areas that every off-plan buyer must interrogate before buying. If you went with monthly payments, I think you'll be in problems, because and that's why there's been a lot of pain. And I've interacted with buyers when tears are on their eyes. The family saving is down the drain and nothing is moving. I know projects in this town off-plan that are 4 years delayed, and the buyers nothing can do. With milestones, you will most likely have a recourse, because whatever you're paid for is worth that value. All right. With monthly payments, most likely you will have overpaid. All right. That's why I say in the book, when you're taking the sale agreement, have those repercussions, because nearly every sale agreement of buyers do not have a repercussion in case a developer defaults. That's what I've seen, because most of those agreements are drafted by the developer. They don't want to punish themselves. So there is always an open book as to the construction period. All right. Now, just like in construction, the developer and the contractor always have repercussions when the contractor delay. I have always advised that buyers must have clauses that clearly state when a developer has delayed what needs to happen. And that does not mean there will be rigidity. If there is a good reason why a project needs to be extended, let the developer apply to the buyers. In those scenarios where there is a clause of repercussion, then the buyers are remedied. But without that clause, trust me, there's nothing you can do. And most sale agreements are like that. You are the mercy of the developer. So project will go 4 years, and you'll check the sale agreement with your lawyer 10 times, and there's nothing you can do. Increased need for professional management of projects. The role of the project manager is a trend that's going on because of the challenges of the built environment. Time and cost overrun has become the new normal. I've always said it is criminal to finish a project on time in this country. It's almost criminal, right? How dare you? Now, the one-time cost and time overrun is bringing in the need for someone trained to manage projects. For a long time, we've been debating what's the role of the project manager. That is a trend that is taking shape. We are seeing counties getting involved now. If you read the report by the Office of Budgets in Parliament, they recommended that part of the need for project manager to run government projects. It's a good trend that is going to take shape. I've always said where I sit, it is not an option. We will have to do it because of the challenges we have. Second trend will be more feasibility studies. You know, for a long time, projects have been done in this country, in town, based on sidebar talks of chamas in bars. They are here, 2 beds is selling. And quickly you do 2 beds, all right? Now there's an increased trend of people respecting feasibilities, and they do feasibilities because of the issues of cost and returns. There is the digital adoption. I think the construction sector is getting on board in digital adoption. Again, it's not an option. If you're going to face the challenges of the 21st century effectively as an industry, we must abort the digital trend. Now we are seeing those kind of digital adoption. So be it 3D printing, be it BIM, building information management, there's a lot that is going digital adoption in the construction sector. Those are very good trends that is taking shape. In terms of real estate, I think we are seeing a lot of projects now moving to the satellite towns of Nairobi. Ngong areas, the Kitengela areas, the Juja areas. Real estate is moving to the settlement towns. I think the Ask Consult report also talked about more need for detached houses vis-a-vis apartments. There is also a trend of increased need for soil investigations on projects that is taking shape, which is a good thing. A lot of projects now do soil investigation before they start. It used not to happen as well. People used to go and just start digging, and then you find black cotton or you find rock. Because of cost and everything like that, the demand for soil investigation is now moving on. Cost of material. Cost of material is a huge challenge right now. The price of steel has gone up by, I think, 100%, and still going up. Russia war, Ukraine, whatever it is affecting us, and the issues of China. Number two is building collapses. I can't fail to mention that. Building collapse is still a big issue in this country. It's a challenge with the built environment they're dealing with. I will talk about a challenge. I will talk about the quacks. Yeah, the quacks. There's so many quacks in the built environment. People masquerading as architects, as engineers, so many of them. Another key challenge is on our approval system. The fragmentation of our approval system is a big challenge. It's taking too long and it's affecting the industry. It's scaring investors. People have to wait 5 months, 6 months to get approval. That is a big issue that we have to deal with. And then lastly is the fees, the undercutting of fees in the built environment. That's a big challenge again that our authorities must address. Proper engineers charge fees, then some juniors undercut fees, and developers go for those juniors, and we have a big issue. The regulation of fees is a major challenge in the construction sector. The buck stops with authorities, because to assume otherwise will be to create vigilante groups to supervise construction sector. If you want to assume that that buck should stop anywhere else other than the authorities in the constitution that we are mandated as a people to supervise buildings on our behalf, any other assumption other than that is to purport to have vigilantes supervise built environment, which should not be the case. So you can't say stop with the architects, stop with engineers. No, the law preempts that there will be a crook architect, there will be a crook developer that will want to do shortcuts. The law preempts that. Just like the law preempts that there will be robbers. All right? If there's an increased amount of robbery in a city, you point at the police. That's what they always say. They say change OCS, change OCPD, they're not doing their work. You don't blame robbers, because you will blame the authority who is supposed to take care of that. So we always lose this debate when buildings collapse and we say, oh, what are engineers doing? What architects doing? Who have we given money to do that work? It's authorities. NCA, county, all right, NEMA, those are the authorities that have the mandate to even arrest. I don't have that mandate, though I'm a chairman. I don't have it. And that mandate is with authorities. Now, what is contributing to building collapses? Recently, I talk about approvals, for example, and I strongly believe that the fragmented approval process could be contributing to this. And the corruption in it. If I have to wait 6 months and still bribe my way to get approvals, why can't I just start and still bribe my way as I build? So that fragmentation, I think, is scaring people to get approvals. If we made it so simple that it takes 1.5 months, everyone will go for it, right? Number two is the unbridled greed by developers, where you want to cut cost at every single place. That's a big. So what happens? You'll go for the quack or the less experienced. You think they're cheaper, and you leave the experience. It's greed. Let's call it that. It's blasphemous greed. So that is another factor that is bringing building collapse. All right. I also think corruption is playing a big part of this. It's an inherent issue we have. We have an ethics deficit in this country that we are still dealing with. It's endemic in us as a country. We'll get past it at some point, but corruption is a big problem. Because sometimes, if you look at the Huruma building, if you look at the Ngong, the Udiru building that collapsed, if you look at the Kware building in Bakasi, these were tall buildings. So you can't even say the county can't see them. I always give this analogy. If you think the county is not everywhere, try painting your doghouse. That small doghouse, try painting it. You will hear them at the gate. So they have this knack to smell even the smallest of the projects. How convenient that the big ones they can't see. So it's corruption. People may look the other way. But the squarely on building collapse, let's put it where it is. It is the authorities that should take responsibility. Construction management, pursued it 4 years, University of Nairobi, got out, I became a project manager, and I think I'm good at it. It's a good course, right? It's a good course for the built environment. For any career person, student who wants to pursue this industry, construction management is a good course. But also we have other courses here, right? Because we work hand in hand. Architects, that's what most people know. You know, parents know architects, engineers, doctors, and lawyers. Some of us don't even exist in that spectrum. But there's architecture that can be pursued as well. There's engineering, civil, mechanical, electrical. For example, in this building, you can see they're all there. We have an architect, we have the civil engineer, we have the structural engineer, we have the mechanical engineer, we have the electrical engineer, they're all here. And then you have a project manager like myself. Then you have the planners, right? You have the urban and regional planners. We need them for planning our towns, planning our cities. They do our change of use, things like that. Built environment course. Quantity surveying. Quantity surveying is a very important course in the built environment. They help us with our costing, that the people who cost everything that we have designed, done by the quantity surveyors. Interior designers, yeah. Interior design is a very good course as well. Very passionate. I've worked with the local and international interior designers in this industry of ours. Brilliant course. Those are some of the courses in the built environment that I can think of my head. Lastly will be they used to be called the land economics. I think now it's called Bachelor of Real Estate. The valuers, yeah, the valuers. If you want to buy land, the valuations. If you want to buy apartment, valuations. You work a lot hand in hand with the valuers as well in the construction sector. Those are the careers in the professional industry. But of course, I like construction management. Please go for construction management. That's a very good course. I have advised so many buyers in the construction sector over my 12 years of working in this industry. I've dealt with so many buyers. I'm a mediator as well, by the way. I do mediation in the construction sector. I've done so many mediations. When I wrote this book called Don't Buy That House, I was worried about the trend of demonizing off-plan. Because for a developing country like Kenya, that is the sure model of getting houses. So if we fully demonize it and scare everyone, then we are not going to get the young people, the young couples will not get houses. Because it is a very good model that most countries ahead of us have used. Now, why I wrote this book is because having seen the pain of buyers, having dealt with so many buyers, having seen the errors that so many buyers have made, having seen the tricks of developers, because I work with them, and what happens when they're doing off-plan. That's why I wrote this book. So that, and I'm targeting the buyer, when you're going to buy off-plan, what are those things that you have to check and tick before you buy a house? It's in the book, and I've talked about the 7 points, the 7 areas that every buyer has to check and tick. And let me tell you, if one box is not ticked, walk away. Go to the next door project. Every box has to be ticked. So that book is describing in detail what you have to do as a buyer, as a layman buyer. In fact, what I've laid bare in that book is very layman. And I talk about it, it's what your lawyer will not tell you, because most lawyers don't even know construction law. All right? It's what your lawyer will not tell you. You can do it yourself as a lay person when you read that book and go and buy a house without a mistake. So get that book, read it. If you're going to go off plan, go through it completely. And sometimes I've had people that are even buying complete houses and still using the book, because approvals, you still need to check whether the building was approved, whether the building had the requisite approval, requisite consultants. It's important even for a complete project. But the target is off-plan buyers. Get the book, go through it. I can bet it doesn't eliminate 100%, but you won't make a mistake when buying a house. Off-plan. Thank you.